Hi, gang. How's it going? How's it hanging? How was everybody's week? Oh my gosh. What a way to kick off the weekend, streaming with all of you. We are live across platforms on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Getter with our OG streaming gang, and over on Rumble as well. I hope everybody has had a fan-freaking-tastic week and learned a lot this week. Didn't lose their minds too much because it has been a crazy few days. The former president has been indicted with a chance to prove his innocence, according to Nancy Pelosi. Our government is trying to make America look like North Korea with the Restrict Act, and yet I'm the bad guy for saying that maybe it's not just about TikTok. Antifa crashed my event this week with Students for Life and Kristan Hawkins over at Virginia Commonwealth University and ended up having some arrests over there in Richmond, Virginia after attacking pro-life students on campus and more. But the good news is, after 2 straight weeks of like nonstop travel, I've been on something like 15 airplanes in the last 10 days. I am officially home permanently in my new home in Miami, Florida. This is our new home studio. It's moving around a little bit. We're playing with it. This chair is not permanent. I'm like literally on the ground sitting in this chair. So please ignore that. And we're going to be improving some things, changing some things around, messing with the studio a little bit. So we want your feedback. But we are officially rooted and grounded right here in the free state of Florida, and I could not be more excited about that. If you guys are just now tuning in for the first time and maybe you've never clicked on this stream before, or you're like, who is this random chick with the glasses? What's going on with the glasses? Somebody commented that on my Instagram today. I need them to see, okay? It's as simple as that. My eyes need a break from contacts after the last 2 weeks on the road. But if you're like, who is this chick? Hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is Isabel Brown. I am an independent content creator and live streamer, and I wear a million other different hats as well as a political commentator, an author, a public speaker, an entrepreneur, zillion different things. But basically, every single day, I get up and give Gen Z an alternative viewpoint and the truth, which is different from what we are hearing every day as a generation. And it is an honor to have you join us on our stream tonight. We do this Monday through Friday, every single day. I know we've had a couple of days off throughout the last couple of weeks as I've been on airplanes and on college campuses, but excited to be back into the groove of things of our regular schedule starting on Monday, and can't wait to show you guys all the other content that we are working on as well. Before we get started with our open forum Q&A, which you guys should be dropping some questions in the live chat about right now. This is a super chill stream tonight. I'm just here to answer your questions about whatever you want to talk about under the sun. Easy kickoff into the weekend and a fun way for us to spend some time together. I want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Public Square, who are sponsoring the stream tonight. You guys have heard me talk about this a million times, but Public Square is the place that you need to be if you are a customer looking for businesses to support that share your values and alternatives to things like Starbucks or Nike or really woke banks that are taking away people's bank account. Public Square is an online marketplace of literally tens of thousands of businesses nationwide, some right in your neighborhood based on your zip code and some nationwide. It just became a publicly traded company, and they are rolling out a ton of new features this year, including in-app e-commerce. So essentially replacing the need for something like Amazon, because now you can just check out directly within Public Square, full of businesses that are pro-America, pro-freedom, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-conservative values. We love Public Square. We stand Public Square. If you guys are a small business owner, I am dropping a link right now in our live chat that a ton of you have already taken advantage of. So I'm excited for you to continue doing this because it's a great opportunity to reach new customers that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to. If you are a doctor or a dentist, or you own a coffee shop, or you can do people's taxes, or you own an apparel company, or you own a dog walking business, or literally anything, you need to be on Public Square. Trust me, this is just the beginning for this amazing company, and your customer base is about to explode. So you can use the link that I just dropped in the live chat to add your small business to Public Square, or if you are a customer looking for a place to go and businesses that share your values, you can download the Public Square app. Public Square is Public SQ. You can go to publicsq.com or download the app on the App Store or Google Play. Thank you so much, Public Square. We love you. We stan you. and it's freaking Q&A time. Let's say hi to some people while you are dropping your questions in the live chats. So across platforms, please, please, please use that chat function. I know on Rumble, we got several people watching, not a ton of people in our chat, so jump on over there. The Getter gang is super active in the chat. We love to see that. And YouTube and Facebook are popping off tonight. I want to answer as many of your questions as possible. And although I am a genius, I cannot yet read minds. So if you have a question for me, the only way that I'm going to be able to see it is in our live chat. I did put a story poll up on my Instagram yesterday asking our Instagram community for some questions because I know that we can't stream over there just quite yet. Although rumor has it that is coming, which is very exciting. So we'll pull some questions from our Instagram story as well. Getter Gang, our original live stream hub. Let's say hello to you. Daniel Maynard is here. Scooter Guy 1990 is here. We've got Big Time James here. Hey, Big Time James. Glad you're here. Son of Wisdom is watching. Michael Priest is watching. Our guy Alex Padron is here. Throw Out Your Birth Control is watching. Was a teen teacher. Says happy new home. Thank you. I'm so excited to be in Florida and have a great new adventure in the next couple of years. It's going to be awesome. Derek Pang is watching and says, get LASIK. I got it in 2016. Okay, I was waiting to see if I was going to go to more school, particularly law school, before I did that to my eyes because you're not supposed to do a ton of reading right after you get LASIK, but I think it's probably just time. I need to suck it up and just get LASIK. We've got Tiny B. Tiny B is watching over on Getter. It says, hi, Isabel. I'm finally back. I am so glad you are here, Tiny B. Alex is watching over on Rumble, and we've got Michael watching on YouTube. Jim is watching on Facebook. Jason is watching on Facebook. Kazama's Keyblade is watching on YouTube and says, please pray for Little Rock, Arkansas. We were just hit by a huge tornado. Please join me in the chat praying for our friends over in Arkansas. HWD71 says, hi, Isabel. Blessings from Australia where it's Saturday. How is the future over there down under? I've always loved that. Steven is watching on YouTube. My mom is watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom, and says, do you ever sleep? Mom, you know the answer to that. I'll sleep when I'm dead. We've got Me Superman over on YouTube. Leo's watching on YouTube. Thanks for being here, Leo. MJ's is watching on YouTube. Phoenix is watching on YouTube. Hollywood 498 is watching on YouTube. Scott is watching on YouTube, and so many more. Very, very grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for spending some of your Friday night with us or Saturday morning if you are watching from down under. And go ahead and drop any question that you guys might have for me in our chat. I will read something from our chat right now and then pull up our Instagram side of things as well because we want to make sure we get to their questions in addition to all of yours. Let's scroll through here. La, 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 la. Alex says, the content creator life seems awesome. Alex, I know you are getting ready to start streaming, which is amazing. I'm so excited for you. I will say it is awesome. It is a literal dream come true. Sometimes it is just absolutely exhausting. And that's probably because I wear so many hats beyond just content creation. Like I do the public speaking, I go on college campuses, I do the news really early in the morning. I'm going to be on Fox News tomorrow, by the way, at 6:50 a.m. Eastern, talking about my experience at Virginia Commonwealth University. So if you guys are awake at 6:50 a.m. Eastern on a Saturday, please, please, please tune in. Would love to have your support. But sometimes you just really want your own bed and you really don't feel like posting on the internet some days, but you have to because that's your job. So like any job, there are definitely days where you're like, oh, this is tough. But overall, absolute dream come true. I would not trade my profession for literally anything under the sun. And I know several of you guys are looking to get into this business, including you, Alex. So we are super excited to start supporting your stream when you go live and all of your other content as well. If any of the rest of you are interested in learning more about content creation, always feel free to reach out to me directly through DMs, through the email portal, on my Instagram or on my website, or literally any other way of contacting me. I love getting to know you guys and it's really fun. Okay, our first official question over on Getter. Have I been to Publix yet? I've been to Publix once before, ever, because my future mother-in-law, the sweetest, most wonderful woman in the entire world, lives in Destin, Florida. So I went to Publix with her over Christmas. and it was amazing. And I loved Publix. I don't have Publix anywhere on the western side of the country where I used to live. So it was amazing. I'm really excited to go shopping there. I've not been yet since I moved here because my building actually has a different grocery store in the building that's a full-size grocery store and a Trader Joe's right down the street. And I love Trader Joe's. So I have yet to do a Publix trip. Maybe this weekend will be a good time to start. Let's scroll through Instagram and see. Nightlight Blazing on Instagram asked us yesterday, does the Convention of States seem possible in this or the next decade? Convention of States being an opportunity to amend the United States Constitution, which is becoming a really popular call across the political spectrum for several different reasons. It's becoming more likely every single day, actually, and particularly with each passing year. So I could see a Convention of States happening. What I worry about with a potential Convention of States is that we're just doing it to do it. Like, we're just organizing the states for the sake of amending the Constitution because it's cool and history breaking. But I don't know that we actually have a specific game plan for what a Convention of States would look like and what specifically we would be seeking to accomplish beyond term limits, which is really all I'm ever hearing from most people about Convention of States. So certainly possible, but I don't know that it is going to be extremely likely, and or that if it does happen, it's going to be the best solution to a lot of the problems that we are dealing with politically right now. Let's do a question over on Facebook. Jason asks, do you see yourself running for any political office anytime in the future or some sort of media role? Great question. Sorry, very sore throat, scratchy throat because I've been speaking on so many campuses and traveling so much. So I got my handy dandy tea in my Who's Your Daddy mug with Darth Vader. Don't you guys love me? I'm fun. I used to answer this question absolutely yes. But honestly, the more that I've worked in politics and the more that I've worked in Washington, which I have in several capacities, I worked for the U.S. Senate as an intern and I worked in the White House as an intern. It would have to be the right role at the right time for the right reasons. And I think far too often we get sucked into the allure of running for public office just for the sake of running. And I really believe that I can make a much bigger impact doing what I'm doing right now, even if it doesn't have the notoriety of running for public office or it doesn't have the paycheck of working for a major media company. To put things into perspective for you, I'm actually writing about this right now for a separate project, but last month, the highest rated cable news television program, which was Fox News, network, which was Fox News, gained 1.4 million unique views in the span of a month, which is a lot. It's a ton for cable news. That is nothing to sneeze at and is an incredible accomplishment. But in that exact same month, my Instagram account alone reached 10 million unique people, and I regularly get over 1.4 million views on singular videos, on TikTok, on Instagram, and across other platforms when you amalgamate all of the views. So I believe that my role is to speak to my generation, from within my generation, to empower Gen Z to take on leadership roles and not wait for permission or have enough life experience, which is what the culture of Washington, D.C. and the culture of running for office really is, to take on a forward-facing role in shaping culture, politics, and society moving forward. And I'm doing that every single day, what I'm doing right now. And I also get to hang out in the spare bedroom of my apartment and wear sweatpants and my glasses and barely any makeup. And it's a much more authentic, real way of delivering the same information. And I think that my generation is really gravitating towards that. So I don't necessarily see myself running for public office anytime soon anyway. It would have to be the right role at the right time, demanding a specific Gen Z point of view. And in terms of any sort of media role, I already go on national television several times a week and I do radio several times a week. I love this as my media role that I get to do, and I've turned down several offers to do something a little bit more structured because I really believe in the authentic, independent level of content creation that I've been very fortunate to do in the last several years. All right, let's take a question from YouTube. Steven over on YouTube says, does your career ever exhaust you to the point of wanting to change careers? This has to be extremely stressful, question mark, question mark. Yes, it is exceptionally stressful, to answer the second part of your question first, but no, I never have reached the point of wanting to change careers, ever. I never anticipated on doing this in my entire life. I always dreamed of becoming a doctor, and I studied biomedical sciences with the anticipation that I would go to medical school and eventually eventually become a trauma surgeon. That was my end all be all. I really wanted to work with something like Doctors Without Borders or Ski Patrol Doctor or something like that, that isn't necessarily in a hospital, but working in the great outdoors, because that is my first love and will always be my first love from growing up in the mountains of Colorado. I love science. I love the pursuit of objective truth. I love the service aspect of medicine, and that is really what I wanted to do for my career. By the time I got about halfway through college, I realized that working in a hospital to get to the point where I'd be able to work in the great outdoors just didn't seem alluring to me anymore. I had done countless hours of shadowing and clinical experience, and I just realized I wouldn't be happy working in a hospital environment or likely attending medical school, because I was not naturally gifted at OChem and physics and microbiology. I loved anatomy and life bio, but the other side of science I just wasn't very naturally gifted at, whereas I'd always been really naturally gifted at public speaking and writing and reading and the English and history and social studies aspects of things. So I decided after interning at the U.S. Senate and then at the White House that I wanted to use my healthcare background in a more policy-oriented perspective. So my master's degree, I ended up pursuing biomedical sciences, policy, and advocacy. Very long name, but we just called it BSPA for short, at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Graduated there in 2020. Planned on going to law school and applied for law school during the 2020 application cycle, which was absolutely psycho in the era of COVID. Applications were through the roof. I was waitlisted at my ideal program at Georgetown and ended up taking a position at the University of Colorado, but deferred because I didn't want to go to law school when everything was remote. And since all of that happened, very long-winded answer, law school became extremely woke. There is mandatory diversity and inclusion training to graduate and even to become registered with the bar to be a licensed attorney. You have to prove that you buy into critical race theory and all of the woke nonsense that is governing college campuses today. I never really planned on practicing as a lawyer, but I realized I could learn pretty much everything I wanted to gain from a law school education without paying a tuition bill and without having to pretend like I was dealing with some sort of leftist paradigm shift in my values and ideology. So God has just very much provided a very clear pathway for me that has been winding for sure, but has always opened new doors of opportunity every few months for me since I leaned into the call to empower and excite and inspire my generation to speak out with truth in a world that's rejecting truth. And I've hosted several different Instagram series and YouTube-based programming and done a lot of public speaking. I self-published my first book, which is right behind me, in 2021, and I'm having more opportunities as an author in the near future, which is very exciting. So every time I think I'm at a crossroads with my career, I kind of just wait it out for a few weeks and a new opportunity always arises, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But I love what I get to do. I leap out of bed every single day. I catch airplanes more than anybody I know to meet people, to inspire people, to get to talk to people, and just continue giving back to Gen Z and culture in a way that many people don't have the luxury of doing. So I feel incredibly blessed with what I get to do. It is absolutely exhausting. I really haven't slept in like 2 weeks, a full night of sleep, which is why my eyes are so puffy, why I needed to wear my glasses today. But I never, ever, ever want to change careers. This is what I want to do forever, is tell people the truth in whatever way that I can. That might not always look like this live stream. That might not always look like short form social media content. It might not always look like writing books or public speaking. That can change every single day. But at the root of everything that I do, I just have the luxury of getting up and telling the truth to people every day, which is basically a dream job. Let's jump back over to Rumble. River in our chat says, I do believe that we need to make an amendment that politicians cannot take money from lobbyists and put an end to super PACs. What do you think? I think that was in reference to our original question about Convention of States from Instagram. Yeah, the level of just absolute corruption that is happening on Capitol Hill from people taking extremely asinine levels of money and campaign contributions from lobbying groups and powerful companies like Planned Parenthood or Meta or Google, who owns YouTube. It's crazy to me, the level of corruption that happens there. And super PACs are a whole new animal in and of themselves. There is a level of conversation that transcends partisan politics, I believe, when it comes to everybody in power versus everybody else, that's becoming exceptionally more apparent to each and every one of us with every passing day. The Restrict Act that we unpacked this week on the stream should just tell you everything that you need to know about the level of corruption that's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. And I would love to see some sort of amendment. I think that might look more like legislation rather than a constitutional amendment. But I would love to see us tackle some of that because I think it's just ridiculous and gets more and more nauseating by the day. But hey, that's Congress. One of my favorite television shows, The West Wing, opens in the first episode with the Deputy Chief of Staff, Josh Lyman, saying, "Oh, I'm so sick of Congress, I could vomit." And that's exactly how I feel. So if that tells you anything, that's where I'm at. Nitty Witty has a question for us over on Getter. What are your thoughts on the Trump indictment? I haven't had an opportunity to really cover this at length because I've been traveling so much, but we are going to be unpacking everything you need to know about the Trump indictment next week on the stream. Simply put, I am the daughter of 2 lawyers. I plan on going to law school myself. I'm a huge legal nerd. Just because someone gets indicted for something does not mean that they actually committed that crime. That's why trials exist for a reason. And this entire scenario has just been a massive weaponization of our justice system. It's incredibly apparent to me that they are all saying the quiet part out loud right now with this indictment happening for a misdemeanor charge that's past the statute of limitations that's now been elevated to a felony charge when the same DA in New York, that's Soros funded, by the way, has reduced over half of felony charges since he's taken office to misdemeanors because they're not actually interested in prosecuting felony crime, criminal behavior. Instead, they're interested in prosecuting misdemeanor behavior as a felony simply because they're a political adversary. The whole thing is exceptionally upside down. And the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, tweeted this morning that thank goodness President Trump was indicted, not arrested, because nobody is above the law. And he was rightfully indicted as a result of that. Don't worry, though. He'll have an opportunity to prove his innocence in court. Never mind the fact that in the United States of America, at least to my understanding, you are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But as we've seen from the last several years with so many high-profile cases, Derek Chauvin comes to mind, there is no such thing as innocence until guilt is proven today. Because if you are guilty in the court of public opinion, or the court of monkeys in Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., or the court of Soros-funded DAs that are more interested in prosecuting misdemeanors than felonies, then you probably will be guilty in a court of law, which is disgusting and a complete weaponization of our justice system. It doesn't matter what you think about former President Trump, if you think he should be the nominee or not, even if you're a Republican or not. If you literally hate this man's guts, it does not matter because this should concern everyone. It's the same line of thinking that we need to adapt for the Restrict Act, knowing that this threatens every single one of us, regardless of what our partisan politics are, regardless of what our opinion about an individual or an app is. The level of extremism that our government is undertaking today, from this indictment to the legislation that they're trying to pass on Capitol Hill, should terrify you. And yet they turn around and call you an extremist. Tells you everything you need to know. Jumping back over to Instagram. Scrolling through. Jen over on Instagram says, how do you not let those idiots at Virginia Commonwealth University upset you? It's so awful. A ton of people were asking me how I stayed so calm during all of the insanity at VCU the other day. If you guys haven't seen what happened, you can go back and watch my stream from Wednesday night when I was in Richmond, Virginia. So crazy. How did I stay calm? Honestly, I don't know. Like, looking back on this in retrospect, I probably should have been really afraid, but I never was. Like, no part of me was ever rattled by the fact that people were getting punched in the face and physically assaulted and property destroyed, and people were hitting megaphones onto my coworkers over at Students for Life. And I was just standing there, and they could have easily come at me, but they didn't, and the campus police were nowhere to be found, so really we only had 2 private security guards. I should have been terrified in retrospect, but I never was, and I'm incredibly grateful that I believe the Holy Spirit had just washed all of this peace over me. I was there to have a peaceful conversation, no matter what the environment was, and I was able to live up to that and show many people who did come to that event that we aren't these radical, insane extremists as pro-lifers. All of the people that you think that you agree with are that. And look at what's happening in this room. But let's try to have a real conversation. So I was able to have so many incredible one-on-one conversations and then a group conversation with the Students for Life chapter when they detained us in this little locked room for a while for our safety in Richmond. And it was incredibly inspiring to know, even in the midst of insanity, there are really exciting opportunities for conversation. Deska over on YouTube wants to ask, where are you from? I know a lot of you guys are new, so you might not know my actual background story. I'll do maybe like a reintroduction stream into me in the next couple of days if you guys would be interested in that, because so many of you are new, especially from my Instagram account, which has just been blowing up lately. So whatever the algorithm is doing, Mark Zuckerberg, I have a lot of bones to pick with you on a day-by-day basis, but thank you for not shadow banning any of my content. That is a very positive thing that I am grateful for. Where am I from? I am from the beautiful state of Colorado. I was actually born in Boise, Idaho, which is a beautiful, beautiful town, and left when I was a baby. Grew up in the Denver area, about 30 minutes west of Denver, in a beautiful small town in the mountains called Evergreen, Colorado. And it was like a completely idyllic childhood, ice skating on the lake for PE in the winter. We got to be 45 minutes from skiing. I loved skiing and playing outside growing up in the wintertime, and in the summertime, I got to climb 14,000 foot peaks and go backpacking and fly fishing and everything in between. I will always be a mountain girl and love the great outdoors. So I loved growing up in Colorado. I then went to Colorado State University for undergrad, moved to Washington, D.C. for graduate school in 2019, and then lived in Phoenix, Arizona for the past almost 3 years, from 2020 all the way through just about now. So I currently now live in Miami, Florida, which is crazy. It's a really big shift, but moved down here because my fiance's job took him here, and we are just really excited about a new chapter in a beautiful free state and experiencing all of the wonderful things about Florida that I never really had a chance to explore when I was growing up on the western half of the country. Eventually, my ultimate goal is to live half and half part-time in Hawaii and Alaska, and that is ultimately the end goal for me and my fiance once we get married and start having kids. We are super excited about making that dream a reality someday, but in the meantime, love, love, love the state of Florida and are really excited to be living here. Scrolling through. Alex Padron says, who will be the first Gen Z president of the United States? Oh, that is hard to tell, but a great question. So far, we only have one Gen Z member of Congress. His name is Maxwell Frost. I could not disagree with Maxwell Frost on more in terms of partisan politics, but he is exceptionally talented at messaging, at rallying Gen Z voters, and at fighting the establishment of politics, which I think is a really powerful thing to be doing right now. He is from Orlando, just up the road from me right now, and I would love to interview him on the stream to like break down the barrier of partisan politics and just talk about the generational barrier that exists on Capitol Hill right now to be running for office. He is exceptionally powerful and inspiring to our generation, and I could see him running for president someday. My amazing friend Caroline Levitt ran for Congress in New Hampshire. I worked with her at the White House, and unfortunately she lost her race, but has a ton of incredible opportunities to continue impacting our generation. But the truth is, most of our generation is teenagers still. It's about 12 to 25, 26 years old is Generation Z. And so I think it's hard for us to tell who the first Gen Z president of the United States will be. We still have about 9-10 years left before we're even eligible, but I'm excited to see us continue to impact American politics in a really exciting way. Oh my gosh, my sweet friend is calling me right now. Sorry, Emma Kate, we're gonna have to turn you on Do Not Disturb, and I will call you when I am done with the stream, I promise. Jumping back over to Instagram, Ellie Martinez wants to know what my favorite Hispanic dish of food is. Oh my gosh, that is so hard. For those that don't know, I am fluent in Spanish. I've traveled to several Spanish-speaking countries all over the world. I love speaking Spanish. I love Hispanic culture. I'm excited to be living in Miami because I've been extremely rusty at my Spanish in the last few years, and everybody here speaks Spanish as immigrants, mostly from Cuba, but from all over Central and South America. So I'm very excited to brush up on my skills again. We have a long way to go before I do entire streams in Spanish, so don't ask. But I will be working on that in the next couple of months and years, and I'm excited to get back into it. My favorite Hispanic food dish. That is so hard. I love a good empanada. I love empanadas. I'd probably say empanadas. They're just like little hugs of warmth and goodness. I love Cuban food as well. I got to visit Cuba right when they were opening American travel to the country in 2016. I was actually there I got to the country the day that President Barack Obama was leaving from his historic visit when they were starting to open up travel and exchange opportunities between the United States and Cuba again. So it was really fascinating seeing communism in action. Now, Cuba is so open that I would imagine it's a completely different experience visiting today. It's like a 30-minute flight from Miami. So I'd really like to go for a long weekend and just see what has changed since I was there in 2016. But Cuban food, like tourist Cuban food, is different from real Cuban food, I will say, because sadly Cuban cuisine is not available to many of the citizens in that country just because of the abject extreme poverty that so many people live with. But traditional historic Cuban dishes are absolutely amazing. We love that question. Let's jump back over to YouTube. Phoenix has an interesting question, deep question. Do you think that there's hope for human beings being peaceful, or is our God-given free will doomed to forever put us in a cycle of chaos with each other? If it's the latter, then I'm sad. Wow, that is a really deep question, but I'm glad that you asked it because it's a good opportunity for me to remind you guys that we are diving in really deep to these types of subjects with my locals community that officially exists, but we are officially launching exclusive content over on locals on Monday next week. So we're going to have two different series that exist only on locals, and I am putting our link to join our locals community in the live chat right now. We're going to be resurrecting Outdated, which if you've been here for a long time, it used to be a podcast that I did before I launched this live stream, and then we kind of absorbed it into the live stream. So many of you have asked me to parse it back out and go much more in depth on subjects of dating and relationships and marriage and birth control and hookup culture and everything in between. So we are going to be parsing that back out into its own in-depth series. We'll still cover all of those things on the live stream, but we will be bringing back Outdated as well as a new series called Domus, which is Latin for our home. And we're going to be unpacking faith and the church and why Gen Z should return to traditional faith and Christianity. It's very exciting. I cannot wait for you guys to see everything that we have up our sleeve for that. But this question right here about free will and whether humans will ever be peaceful again, or do we have this cycle of chaos forever, is exactly in the vein of what our Domus series is going to be on locals. So please consider joining us over there. It's going to be a really exciting time with some exclusive content that will only exist on my locals page. And I know a ton of you have already jumped over there. So please consider joining us. To answer your question, it's a hard reality, but we do live in an imperfect world, right? It's easy for us to believe that we can achieve this utopian perfect society because our entire political and cultural system in America is set up for us to believe that we can make the world a better place every single day. And so it's a tough balancing act with what I do, because on one hand, I do believe that we can make the world a better place, one person at a time, one thing at a time, one truth statement at a time in this world, rejecting truth. But at the same time, I fundamentally believe as a Christian and as a Catholic that Jesus will come back, and Jesus will have to come back because the world will depart so significantly from God's design for a relationship with us that we need the Savior to return. We need the Messiah to return. And we know from the book of Revelation and from other prophecy in the Old and New Testament that the world is just going to go completely bonkers, berserk, insane, to the level that lies will become truth and truth will become lies, that we will eventually have this concept of like one world government, authoritarianism and totalitarianism, that our leaders will be worshipped, our human leaders will be worshipped to the point that God is no longer worshipped, and things will continue to devolve each and every day, which is a hard thing for us to wrestle with, right? Because if we believe in making society a better place, how do we justify continuing to get up every day knowing that we can't save Earth, we can't save America, we can't save the human race? Ultimately, that's not our job. That's God's job. So how do we find that balancing act? For me, it's been trying to impact one person's life at a time, knowing that I'm not going to save America, despite how common of a talking point that has become in conservative politics. The people that I work with every day aren't going to save the world from insanity or wokeism or authoritarianism or the radical left. Instead, it's just our job to continue telling the truth, and God will take care of the rest. And if we can change just one person's life at a time, that's ultimately what we are called to do, is make this world a little bit more like the next one in whatever capacity we can. I do think there will just be endless cycles of chaos for the rest of humanity, but that doesn't mean we should stop trying to achieve peace, because we can institute peace and live in harmony with one another if we're just willing to try. I actually just filmed a documentary in November that's coming out this month. I'm super excited about it. In Israel, in Jerusalem, talking about how we can utilize our free will despite our vast differences ethnically, religiously, from socioeconomic status, and politically, to live together in harmony, and how shockingly the world thinks Israel is this epicenter of conflict, when in reality, Jerusalem in particular is figuring out a way to live together in peace instead of the cycles of chaos and insanity. So I'm excited for you guys to see that documentary. Lots of fun news coming on that. It will be premiered here on the stream, which is very exciting. Long-winded answer, but if you're interested in more types of dialogue about questions like that, please join us over on our locals community, where we're going to be covering that stuff in depth. Let's jump back over to Getter. Rumble just repeated the same question. Old School American on Rumble asked, who's going to be the first Gen Z POTUS? Will there even be in America by then? I answered that question already, but a great question. Will there even be in America by then? I sure hope so, if I have anything to say about it, for sure. Daniel Maynard says, I figure it's always good to have a lawyer around on Getter. What are the requirements to go for a law degree? Great question, because I actually didn't know this until I was in grad school. I had no concept of wanting to go to law school at all. You don't need any prerequisite classes or courses to go to law school. If I remember correctly, they could have changed that in the last several application cycles. But you need to go to college, have your undergraduate degree, and then take the LSAT, which is the law school admissions test. It's extremely difficult. You should plan on studying for that for about a year if you want a good enough score to pick and choose which law school you want to attend. And then almost every law school I applied to, you had like your general, it's kind of like your Common App essay to get into law school, or to get into college. You have like your general admission essay of why you want to go to law school. It's called your statement of purpose or something. I can't even remember. It's been so long. And you submit that to every single school. And then most schools will also have secondary application essay questions that you answer in terms of why you want to go to that specific school. So that's basically all you need to do, is get your undergraduate degree, take the LSAT, have your score for that, and then do the essays. And those are the requirements to go to law school, to get your law degree. I'm learning it's exceptionally common for people to go to law school without actually wanting to practice law. So it's interesting that that is becoming a lot more common, especially in this world of politics that we work in, and most people wanting to get their law degree to just have the understanding and basis of how the law works, which is very, very cool. That's what I wanted to go to law school for, and ultimately just decided it wasn't the right time and I could learn pretty much everything that I wanted to learn on my own. Anna Lynn Faith over on Instagram asks, would you say abortion is the biggest problem in the United States or something more general? Wow, that's a good one. Abortion is up there as, I believe, the single biggest human rights issue in the United States and around the world today. It's easily the biggest genocide that the world has ever known. And America has already claimed the lives of almost 65 million innocent children, including 1/3 of my generation. So it cannot be overstated just how devastating the impact of the abortion industry has been on the United States of America. That to be said, I think incorporating the abortion problem in America with everything else that we're facing today, I believe the biggest problem America is facing today is subjective reality, subjective truth, and subjective morality. It's this idea of moral relativism and the idea that objective truth no longer exists. Right before this stream, I posted a short video over on Instagram and TikTok about how mathematicians in Ontario in Canada, so this is true not just for America, but in the Western world in general, have now said that 2 + 2 = 4 is no longer a mathematically relevant or important equation, or even that the fact that it's correct doesn't matter. Instead, it's a dog whistle for white supremacy and is covert racism if you say that 2 + 2 = 4. So we've actually gone so far into this idea of a dystopian authoritarian reality that we have leapt off the pages of George Orwell's 1984, where this was an example that the party, the uniparty that governed Winston's world in 1984, said that 2 + 2 = 5. That's what they said, because ultimately, how can you prove anything is real, or how can you prove anything is true if there is no such thing as objective truth? That impacts the lies that we experience about abortion every day. That impacts the lies that we experience about gender theory and critical race theory every single day. That impacts every aspect of American life and life in the Western world as we know it. So I would say that the bigger issue beyond just abortion is that there is no such thing as objective truth or objective reality in the 2020s. And that's why I am fighting every single day against all of that insanity. The World is Like a Zoo over on Getter asks, did any of the students who shouted at you at VCU get in trouble? There were 2 arrests that were made, but neither of those individuals were students. They were adults in the world outside of VCU that kind of posed as students. It's a really common thing for Antifa style activists to embrace, that they act like students, they dress all covered up with their face covered up, and you would have no idea who they actually are. It's a public university campus, so anybody can go. And there were 2 arrests made for several different charges. I don't have them off the top of my head right now, but one was assault, which is crazy. And I hope those people are brought to justice on behalf of the people that were assaulted, is all I will say about that. Fun question over on Instagram as we wrap up in our next several minutes. Do I have or want to get any tattoos? I do have a tattoo, which is crazy. My mom is probably rolling her eyes over there in the live chat, but that's okay. Love you, Mom. Much love. You've had some time to get over it by now, which is good. I got my one and only tattoo, which is of the Jerusalem cross. It's kind of hard to tell from where you're looking right now. In Jerusalem, in Israel, when I was there in November at the oldest tattoo parlor in the world. It is operated by the same family now for the 28th generation of the Razzouk family. They are ethnically from Egypt. They came to Israel 28 generations ago and kept up this tradition of Coptic Christians in Egypt tattooing a cross on their wrist, very similar to the one that I just got, but slightly different, to identify themselves as Christians, to be led into the church, and to just wear their faith on their sleeve and outwardly proclaim their faith to the world. So it has been a tradition for Christian pilgrims of all denominations, but including Catholicism, and I'm Catholic, to get tattoos when you go to the Holy City of Jerusalem and you make a pilgrimage to the Holy City of Jerusalem. This actually goes all the way back to like early church history within the Catholic Church, when you would go for confession, for reconciliation. Sometimes if your sin was grave enough, if you did something so unbelievably bad, the penance that the priest would ask you to do was to travel. Usually you would have to walk or like ride a horse from Europe to Israel, which would take months. This is like a months-long process, and go pray and attend Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and make a pilgrimage to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is my favorite church in the entire world. It is where Jesus was crucified, where he died, where he was buried, and he was resurrected. So I've been in the empty tomb of Jesus, which is crazy, from within that church. And oftentimes people would go and get tattoos in Jerusalem of the Jerusalem cross, which is what I got, to prove to everybody that they actually made the trip, and then they would come all the way back to Europe. So it's this really cool line of history that's existed for thousands of years, and it's a really exciting way for me to just wear my faith on my sleeve. It's a great opportunity for a conversation starter, and I love just joining this whole community of people, of Christians that have been doing this, knowing that they could risk losing their life or being physically assaulted or harmed as a result of doing that for thousands of years. And it was very, very cool being in the oldest tattoo shop in the entire world. That was probably just a one and done thing for me, by the way, but I am very happy that I did it. No regrets over here. All right, we got a question over on Rumble from Alex. Say you were asked to speak at an event. What are your procedures for writing a speech asking for a friend? If you want my genuine response, I used to write every single speech that I did. I don't write most of my speeches now. I kind of just get up there and talk. When I over prepare, I freak out that I'm going to lose my place or lose my way of speaking or forget to say something that I really meant to say. So generally speaking, I will go into the speeches that I give on college campuses or with Lincoln Day fundraisers for Republican parties or any other event that I'm asked to speak at with a general outline of what I want to say, bullet points, and then I just kind of go from there. But if it's like a huge conference or a huge event and convention, I typically will write my speech. And generally speaking, I will make a list of bullet points of what I know I want to cover, and then I will just write it out from there. So best advice on how to practice is to do it in the mirror because you can practice looking up from your piece of paper so you're not just reading it the entire time, and pausing and making eye contact with the audience, which is always an important thing to do. Maze Page has a fun question for us to end on tonight because my throat is getting a little scratchy, which is not super fun. And we want to make sure we have a good voice for all of our amazing content coming next week. Any new books on the horizon? I don't know if I should break my rule and tell you guys. It's Friday. Why not? You guys get a chance to learn before anybody else. I am currently writing my second book right now. I'm actually about to turn in my manuscript to my publisher, which is super exciting. And my next book will be coming out early next year. That's really all I'm going to say about it, but I'm working super hard on it. I think it's an incredibly important conversation that nobody else in our country is having, and I could not be more honored to be the person to catalyze that conversation. So stay tuned for a lot more information about that in the next couple of months. I'm sure I will have tons of formal announcements and pre-order dates and where you can buy it and all of that stuff very, very soon. But yes, there are new books, plural, on the horizon, even beyond this one that I am currently writing. Love you all so very much. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for always cheering me on in so many different capacities as a content creator. What a fun way for us to kick off the weekend with this live stream. Don't forget, we are going to be live for our normal schedule next week, and our locals community is officially launching with our 2 exclusive to locals series, Outdated and Domus. So if you want to watch those series, which I know tons of you do not forget to scroll back up in the chat, go find that link that I dropped to join our locals community before Monday, because we have a lot of exciting content that's coming over there in the next couple of days. Be good people, tell the truth, continue supporting your favorite independent creators. We need your support now more than ever. And fun little reminder, I will be on Fox and Friends tomorrow morning at 6:50 a.m. Eastern. Most of you will be sleeping. Please do not get up for that. We will make sure that you can see the clip in another capacity. I'll probably post it over on Locals after we do it. So another good reason to join Locals. Talking with Kristan Hawkins about our experience at Virginia Commonwealth University this week. It's going to be awesome. If you happen to be on the East Coast and you're awake at 6:50 in the morning on a Saturday, would love for you guys to tune in on Fox and Friends. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Unplug, turn off your phone. We could all use a little break from everything. And I will see you guys on Monday. Love you all. Have a great weekend.